everyone.
Hello.
Good morning, afternoon, wherever you're listening from, let us know. We are super excited to launch and go over our 2023 Instagram study. So we're going to dive into the data in just a second, but drop a comment or question or anything, what you're most excited for to learn about in our 2023 Instagram study.
Yes. And also tell us where you're tuning in from.
All right, let's get into it. So, as some of you know, last year we launched our 2022 Instagram study. We can drop that in the comments below for a link to that study, but we have an updated 2023 Instagram study. So, let's get into it.
So if you are new here, obviously Metricool is the Swiss Army knife of social media for everyone and everything. And if you stay tuned until, the end of the presentation, we'll have a code for you guys. But we are your one-stop shop for social media and online ad management, and we are here to give you the answers to all of your Instagram questions.
Okay, so looking back at the 2022 Instagram study, we saw that Reels became the leading format for reach. So everyone was jumping on Reels. We kind of saw those blow up. So it makes sense that they were the leading format for reach. It was a new content type. So, it was easier to kind of get that content to be seen. And then stories were the most shared format. But they received the least amount of reach. So even though a lot of accounts were using them, it was maybe a little bit oversaturated. And then we also found that the best times to post was on Saturdays and Sundays at 8 p.m. So this was universal time of posting. So kind of surprising that it was a weekend day. Weekend days. All right. And now let's dive into the data for 2023.
So this is a sample of what our study consisted of. So we analyzed over 300,000 professional Instagram accounts, and then you can see how it was broken down further from there with posts, reels, and stories. So our sample is very large. And then this is a comparison of our sample size between 2023 and 2022. As you can see, like I said, the sample size is much larger, and you can see those differences there. It's, plus 70%, 282% with Reels. So it's a very large difference between just 1 year.
Yep. Okay, and then a big question that we wanted to tackle was, are Reels still the format with the highest reach and interaction rates? Since we saw that last year, it was, a major content type. So whereas Reels still have the most significant amount of reach, compared to last year, we've seen a decrease in reach just because, last year it was a newer content type. Maybe not as many accounts were jumping on creating Reels yet. So even though Reels still do have the highest amount of reach compared to last year, it's a little bit decreased, meaning there might be more competition for Reels on the market. So just kind of some interesting data. And then also same with posts. So posts reach is not as significant as Reels, but we still did see a decrease from last year in terms of reach. So this is interesting too, because not sure if as many brands are using regular posts, feed posts. I don't know what your take is on this.
It's also interesting to note too that even though Reels have still the highest interaction and highest reach, it's important to use the other formats because as that competition is growing, you want to find what works best in your strategy and use a wide variety. So Reels, yes, they are still technically winning, but no, because the other formats are going to also help you, strategize best.
Mhm. Okay, and then once again with stories. So this is the first graph we've seen so far with some positive trend. So as we can see in kind of the 500 to 10K follower range, stories, the reach for stories and these accounts was increased comparative to kind of the 10K to 45 million followers, whereas the reach in stories was a little bit decreased. So kind of, I don't know, I guess that stories might not be the best way for larger brands to reach their audience, but we're seeing kind of the middle accounts increase in reach.
Yeah, definitely those accounts with fewer followers are seeing that stories are performing better for them, which kind of correlates to engagement because we tend to see that smaller accounts have those really loyal communities. So definitely if you're in that like mid-tier, smaller level, like I would definitely prioritize stories as a good format for you moving forward.
Okay, and then kind of just breaking down each format. So, like we've mentioned, Reels are the most efficient to reach people who might not know your brand yet, since Reels can be also found on the Explore page. That is a great format for reaching new people. Carousels also have had a huge increase this year. So you're able to, post multiple pieces of content or information, and comparative to single image posts, which can still drive all different types of interactions, but you're limited to that one image. And then, as we mentioned, stories, maintaining that engagement with loyal followers, people who already know your brand, is a great way to stay interacted with your account, with your audience. Okay, so now which content format works or worked best on Instagram?
Really quickly, someone asked if this is going to be available as a video later. So this whole thing will stay on our YouTube channel permanently. So you can always go back in and watch the replay. If you're tuning in later, or if you just want to watch it at a later time, it will be available on our YouTube channel.
Yes. Okay, so now let's dive into reach per post type from 2022 to 2023. So with both image and carousels, we're seeing an increase in reach.
We have so like we said, so we're going to put aside Reels right now because right now we've already established that they have the highest interaction and the highest reach. But in second place, it's actually the carousel. We've seen that the carousel has gotten extremely popular in terms of post format, which like Aniston said earlier, it's because you can have multiple slides, you can reach more people with more information, you can just generally share much more info than you can with a single image post. And we're seeing that carousels are outperforming those image posts in terms of both reach and interactions. So even though the interactions are technically down compared to 2022, it's still like important to do carousels because that is what's pretty much working on Instagram right now is those carousel posts.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, just once again, so the yellow is representing this year's interactions, and then blue is in 2022. So we can see that image posts are not reaching that same amount of interactions previous to last year, but carousels are exceeding that. So carousels are working very well across the board.
And we also have seen that we've just been seeing that the increase of carousel posts in the feed with brands and creators.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now does posting frequency influence the number of followers? So does the amount of posts that a brand puts out per month, is this influencing the amount of followers? So from Last year, we can see that for feed posts, the monthly posting frequency has decreased across the board. So, not as many brands are posting as many feed posts.
Yeah, and we've also noticed that if you can see, it's pretty consistent that the accounts that have the more followers, they are posting more often, and that's pretty much across the board with stories, reels, and feed posts. So they have a higher publication frequency.
Yeah. And then we can also see that stories monthly posting frequency is also down across the board, which is interesting. You would think that, with those, as we saw with the kind of 500 to 10K, since they were receiving such good engagement rates, interesting that they're decreased. But then, unsurprisingly, more and more brands across the board, regardless of followers, have a huge increase in posting reels.
Which of this makes complete sense because last year, when Reels was the new thing, everyone was like, if you want to grow on Instagram, you have to be posting Reels. So it seems that that trend has really, carried on over into 2023. And it's just that now there's more competition.
Mm-hmm. Someone asked monthly posting, does that mean all posting activity? So yes, that just means breaking up each content type into what formats they're posting, but obviously this is just for Instagram, so this isn't across other social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's dive into the posting frequency per account and content types. So we're just going to dive into some more graphs, kind of as a overall. You can see what brands are posting more of. So stories seem to kind of be dominating, just because they're easy, quick ways. Doesn't take a lot of effort and time, whereas posts and reels have a little bit more that you need to
Put more effort, especially Reels. Definitely take more effort to post.
yes. So just a little overview of the numbers, types of content. Let's dive into it. Okay, so this is interesting too, because comparative to last year, higher increase in carousels and then a decrease in single image posts.
Yeah. And we expect this to also continue, just as, like I said, more people are enjoying carousels or shareable content. And it seems just to be the platform that's dominating. And we wouldn't be surprised if we see it continue to grow and to like be that direct competition with Reels.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And which content has the highest reach on Instagram?
So this is going to be Reels, like we said, but there is something to take into account with this because compared to our previous year's study, we're seeing an average decrease in reach affecting everything, even Reels. But Reels they had the largest drop in scope. I believe it was like about, I think, 76% in comparison to 2022. And that's just like we said, because brands and creators are now posting more reels. And even though they are the format that does take the most amount of time, it's really what was emphasized within the last year. So that is why we're seeing an average decrease, but they still do, get you the farthest in terms of reach.
Okay, and then just diving in more to kind of the breaking down the likes, comments, and saves for both reels and posts, we can see that reels, for likes have highest interactions, and seems that also saves. More people are likely to save your reels over just regular single image or carousel posts. And then comments, it seems that, I don't know, this data is kind of interesting. I guess that there's decrease in comments for reels. I think probably because more people are just saving rather than commenting, which is interesting.
Yeah. I also think it could be because, it's short form content. So a lot of the times when we're looking at reels, we're scrolling through them And you're right.
Yes.
I would more than likely rather save a reel than, add anything to the conversation. I feel like posts and like single image posts and carousel posts kind of bring a little bit more to where you would be more prone to interact and engage. That's not saying that reels don't bring any of that, but I think it's definitely more common to have those likes and those saves for those types of content.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then another question that we get asked all the time is the best hours to post on Instagram. So we can just kind of see this graph of, how it changes over the day. So kind of a drop in the morning, and then middle of the day continues to increase, have a peak at 8 p.m., and then it drops off again. So once again, the best hour to post is 8 p.m. This is universal, so not specific to any time zone. And compared to last year, when the best days to post were Saturdays and Sundays, we're now seeing that the best days are Mondays and Thursdays.
So we did
So,
see a change there.
yes.
And then also one other thing to note too is that 8 p.m. is the best time, but we also saw that closely behind is around that 3 p.m. mark. And again, universal, where it doesn't matter the time zone.
Okay, so I know we kind of ran through that pretty quickly, but overall, I think we can see the general trends that reels are increasing, even though reach is maybe down a little bit. It's overall the content form with the highest reach. Less brands are posting single image posts, and yeah, I guess it's interesting because overall, I guess we're seeing decreases in a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, reach across the board is down. So I wonder let us know what surprised you the most, and then we'll dive into some questions.
And then our study is live. So if you are looking to read it for yourself, that will be dropped in the comments right now. And then we will also drop another resource, which is our Looker Studio graphs. And this is just if you really want to take a look into the data that we pulled, you'll be able to access that as well. So we'll drop both of those things in the comments so that you can read all the data for yourself as well. And this will be available too. It'll stay linked on this YouTube video, and it will also be available on our website. So you can go through it.
One thing too, we really recommend for people reading this study is to use these general trends and then take it back to your personal accounts. So this is kind of the data we saw generally, after analyzing 300,000 accounts. But it's important to take this data back to what works for your brand and your business. So you can use Metricool to kind of further dive into your specific numbers, which, yeah. So I'm going to look through some of these questions right now.
And then like Aniston was saying, like one way that you could easily take this data and utilize it for your own strategy is to, of course, we have that best time to post and like the best days to post, but it's really important to cross-reference that with what your own data is saying, specifically like in Metricool, like you can see like the best times to post, so you can kind of see that and then figure out what works best for you, because again, analytics are always changing and it is going to differ case by case.
Yes. Okay, before we dive into some questions, also before I forget, so as most of you know, Metricool is a completely free platform. So we have a free account. You can still access analytics, planning content. But if you want to try out any of our premium plans, you can use the code IG23 at checkout to test out, try our advanced plans. They allow you to access advanced features like social media reports. You can access other platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn. And then you can add in, some multiple smart links. We have a lot of options. So make sure to check that out. And let's see some of the comments.
And we'll also leave the code and a link to our website in the comments as well.
Okay, I'm going to turn this off a minute. Okay. So do you have any research about time spent on the platform? Is reach down because people are using the app less, or is it more because it's pay to play? Interesting question. So we did not, in our study, we didn't, focus on time spent on the platform. So we didn't analyze that data. But I think it is a good, maybe open discussion about reach being down. I think we as a brand have noticed that, and I think across the board, a lot of people have been noticing that. So I don't know if you have any observations on this in terms of people, time spent on the platform.
Especially, we saw a decrease in August, which can sometimes be a trend. But it's definitely a good discussion to have, because that pay to play conversation is important now, considering that you can pay for that verification and you can pay for that kind of boost. So it's definitely going to more than likely take into account how you're seeing your reach, but it's not something that we specifically analyzed.
Mm-hmm. I think also with the sprout or the start of threads and then the changeover to X and the kind of saturation, I guess, of the market across the board. This might be another reason why reach has been down. There's just, I think, kind of some confusion about what brands want to invest in because there's been so many changes in the networks.
And the changes are still going to continue coming too. And with just so many social platforms in general as well, like it does make sense that with those constant changes, it's hard to really pinpoint, how much time you should be spending on a platform, or if Instagram is the platform that you should be relying the most on. And that's where, your own analytics will come into play, and seeing, where your audience is and what they like to see.
Yes. Okay. So Daya asked if the best days to post are Monday and Thursday. Do you also recommend to post 2 times a week, or what is the best posting frequency? So I think that last year we found that the average posting frequency is 3 times a week. So I don't know, Alex, if you have kind of a recommended posting frequency.
So I think that this is definitely going to be dependent on you and your audience. And I think it's also important to look at, your analytics. Obviously in Metricool, if you have a Metricool account, and then as well as, within the native app, to see when your followers are most active. I do recommend that you should be posting on a weekly basis, especially, if it's for your brand or your business. You should be posting consistently. I think it doesn't matter so much as how often you're posting, but how consistently you are posting, because your followers will be able to kind of come to expect, like, if you're going to post 3 times a week, you're going to post 3 times with quality content, as opposed to 5 times a week with filler content. So that's something that's very dependent on your brand, your business goals, things like that. Now, within our study, we did see that people with more followers are posting more often, but this can also again take into account a lot of different factors. So I would say that you should sit down and see how many times you are capable of posting per week or scheduling out per week, and then fine tuning as you go, as you're monitoring your analytics month to month.
Yes. Okay. Once again, too, with these questions, I know some of them are a little bit more, they're not as concrete. But I still want to address them and have kind of the open conversation, because I think a lot of us are, have these questions. So for example, Izzy's asking, what is the best way to go about stories for 10K to 50K followers? I know a lot of platforms use humor or relatable posts that fit their niche to connect with their audience. Was there a better way? So we don't have like a specific answer, but I think it's important to kind of open it up and talk about what questions are surfacing. So we did say that kind of stories are working really well for those accounts from like 500 to 10K. If you're talking about 10K to 50K, I think, you shouldn't be posting like vital information on stories that isn't, going to be accessible or going to also be published on regular posts or reels. I think these are a great place that you can ask questions, you can have polls, you can have, you can repost and share your other posts of content that you've uploaded. But yeah, what would you say?
I would think that, well, for stories, one of the biggest things about stories is that it's commonly known that they don't necessarily bring you new followers. So, a lot of the times, what stories are doing is they're catering to your specific audience. They're catering to the people that are already a part of your community. So, that's definitely something to keep in mind when you are planning what you're going to post. You want to create that engaged community, that loyal community, and stories are the best way to do that. But like Aniston said, like maybe if you are trying to reach those new people, you want to have like a good balance of what you're posting in those stories as opposed to something that they can see permanently, like on your feed or in a carousel or in a reel.
I think this is also a great way to where you can test out a bunch of different things because
Mhm.
stories have so many different options, so many different ways of interaction. So I think this is a way where you can, ask your audience questions of general questions of what information do you want to know? What resources do you want to see? And then this can help you kind of create content for those other types of formats. So for posts and for reels. Um, so I think this is a great way to kind of, you know, experiment and see what your audience wants to know.
And we're also seeing in the comments a lot that people are saying that you don't necessarily want too much salesy content on your stories. And that's definitely very true. Like that authenticity, that behind the scenes, that is what your loyal followers really want to see at the end of the day. So again, something really important to keep in mind is actually having them feel like, they're a part of your community, they're a part of your audience, they're your friend if you're like a personal brand, if you're a business. Definitely keep that in mind as opposed to being so strict. Like stories in general are a little bit more lax.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Rachel asked, what is the best real content right now? So once again, probably not going to have like a one answer, but we can just kind of discuss what we've seen has been working best. I don't know if you have a take.
I think I see a lot of different things on Reels, and I think that obviously it's catered towards whatever you're liking, and you're seeing them more often. Sometimes, if it's your niche, you might be seeing things that are different or similar within your niche. Like, for instance, when I'm on the Metricool account, I get a lot of social media marketing reels and things like that. And I think something that's important for Reels is, again, keeping that content to be, I know that we say this a lot and it might be like driven into the ground at this point, but that relatable content. And I think that something that a lot of people are also really afraid of is hopping on trends. And when I say hop on trends, I don't mean just like pick a trend and do it for the sake of doing it. But a lot of the times, if you really want to do a trend, 99% of the time you can make it work for your niche. And that's
Mhm.
something that I like stand by. And I think it's fun to experiment with those types of things, especially if you are wanting to see that growth, because a lot of the times, trendy content can help you with bringing in those new eyes or at least catching someone's attention so that maybe they'll come to your feed and be like, what's this about?
Yes, definitely. Um, okay. This one is interesting as well. Destination asked, are hashtags still useful in 2023? So, yes, I think hashtags are still a great resource. They can help you find new communities and new, followers. But I think something that might be taking over is keywords. I think keywords are extremely useful in content. Because, TikTok, Instagram, Google, YouTube, these are all becoming huge search engine platforms, not just, um, yeah, they're transitioning into huge search engines. So every algorithm of the networks is catering towards these keywords and helping group content. So utilizing keywords on in your captions, on text, in your videos is really useful. But I think hashtags are still working.
Yeah, and they can still, they can still serve their purpose. It's definitely lessened over time. So I wouldn't, completely throw hashtags away, but definitely know that like your keywords are what's more prominent right now.
Mm-hmm. But you can still use keywords as hashtags as
Hashtags,
well.
yeah.
So maybe try that.
Yeah.
Okay. Ron Caps asked, are you doing any similar analysis for TikTok? So great question because we are launching. So we have launched a TikTok study in March
Earlier this year, yeah.
earlier this year, but we have an updated TikTok study coming for y'all end of this month. So September 26th. So save the date because we will also be doing a similar presentation for our updated TikTok study. So stay tuned for all of that information. But yes, we will be doing a similar updated analysis on TikTok.
Yeah, keep an eye out on our socials as well as, any emails.
So this is interesting too. Is there any data on how commenting on other accounts increases your reach? So this information wasn't included in our study, but I, want to know, I guess, especially from kind of the social media management side, if you've noticed what happens, or if there's any increase when you comment on other accounts.
I think that commenting definitely takes a huge role into engagement, but one thing I think that's important is that you shouldn't be, I guess, empty commenting is what I like to call it. So I think all your comments should have some sort of intention behind them. Otherwise, it doesn't really serve a purpose. It's just kind of there. I think that when you are doing that engagement, you should be, asking questions or leaving an intentional comment, letting the user know that you either resonated with the content, you have a question about the content. I think those types of comments are going to help you astronomically when it comes to your reach, as opposed to, maybe leaving a like, exciting or a great, like, it's good to be intentional, ask questions, start those conversations, because again, that's what social media is for. It's for, interacting, communicating, making those connections.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I think also it's a way, like you said, if someone, is going to comment on your account, it's if you as a brand respond back, or if you as a brand, maybe comment on someone else's or another brand, then that's just a way of being more authentic with your audience and saying that there's a real person behind this account, not just a bot or an automation. I think that can go a long way. Okay, another interesting question: are trending audio reels still working?
It's dependent on, I mean, it's not that they're not working, because you just never know, right? Because we can't really track that virality. But it's not, you shouldn't be your sole purpose. It shouldn't be your sole focus. If you could put out tons of trending audio content every day, and it might not hit the algorithm, it might not increase, you just don't know. So again, with that intentionality, like if you can relate it back to your niche or whatever your business is about, then great. It's great to try it. Social media is also about trying new things and seeing what resonates with your audience, or what can, help you get more customers, but it shouldn't be your sole focus.
Yeah, I agree. um This is another interesting one. How do you find trends on Instagram? I don't know if you have if there's like any tools or any, sites that you use to find trends.
Um, I've been asked this before, and I wish I had a better answer, because I tend to just scroll. I am on, socials a lot because that's a big part of my job. So I think one thing that's really helpful that you can do is take a look at your favorite creators, because those are the people, your favorite creators, or maybe your favorite businesses. that are posting really consistently, because more than not, they are usually on it with the trends. So that's a quick way to find some that are like, up and coming or blowing up at that moment in time. I believe you can also, I'm not sure if you can do it on Instagram, but I know that TikTok has like where you can find the trending audios. I'm not sure if Instagram does. I feel like they do. So that could be also something to look into. But those are just like some avenues that you can try. But my tried and true is always doing a good scroll.
I think also there's a account on Instagram. I think it's just creators, or it's called Instagram creators. And
I
I
think
think
it's
that
just
yeah, they have some really good information too about, what has been popular amongst creators, which I think can be useful for brands across the board. And if they want to, adapt it obviously to their own brand. So maybe try that out. Also, a lot of people are asking about keywords. So, two resources that I really like to use for keywords. One is Answer the Public. So, this is Neil Patel's website and his tool. This is a great way to find like general questions about broad topics. So, you can even, type in Instagram and you can see a whole list of what questions people are asking. So that is a great resource. And then another one I like to use is just called Keyword Tool. So you can, search specific to a platform, specific to your country or language, and then gives you trends of what keywords or, the trends of different keywords. So Answer the Public and Keyword Tool. Those are two resources that are really great.
I also like keyword.io. I don't think it's the same one, but that's a good one too.
I know. I'm like, is it? Let's see.
I'm not sure.
No, that is it. Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay, then. Yeah. I don't know if they have the different names, but yeah.
Okay. Stephanie asked, my client is a prophetic coach. Can you give an example for keywords? I'm going to see. Let's see. I'm trying to think of an example for keywords. But okay, so say that we kept it broad, and I'm just going to pull up Keyword Tool to kind of show y'all. I can share my screen. Ooh.
While you're doing that, if you did tune in late, we have already released our IG study. So you can find that in the comments of this video if you want to go in and read that yourself. And then again, if you did come in late, this will be on our YouTube channel, so you can watch the replay as you please.
Okay, I'm just going to do Instagram Reels since we've been talking about Reels so much. Okay, so this tool will populate all of the, most common keywords around whatever you posted. So Instagram Reels, we can see, has a large search volume, but the overall trend is down. And the competition is basically, how many other people are posting about this. So surprisingly, it's pretty low. And then other things, so Instagram Reels download. This seems to be really popular, has a really high trend, and it's also a really low competition. So if you are a brand and you wanted to post about how to download Instagram Reels, this would be a great keyword to jump on now. Same, how to make Instagram Reels, how long can Instagram Reels be? So you can kind of gather some information about what people are searching for, and make content that, answers these questions. Okay. Lost the comment. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I found one. Or did you post it?
Oops.
We can do this one. So does weeding out bot followers help boost engagement even though the number of followers is decreasing? So think of it this way. If you have bot followers, they're not really engaging with your content, right? It's a bot follower, so it's a fake follower. Or it's just fake comments, which isn't really adding any value. Plus, a lot of the times, if you look at the comments and you see a bunch of bots, it can be a little bit concerning. Like, why is there so many bot followers? Like, it can kind of make people question the validity of what you're posting, or like, why is there so many bots? Now, sometimes you can't control that because it can come from random hashtags that you use, but I would say that weeding out bot followers is always a good thing if you can. If you can do it, like, maybe quarterly, because at the end of the day, you want true, authentic engagement.
Yes. Okay. If anyone has any other questions, we're gonna wrap it up here in a second. But just wanted also to share our full Instagram study, so you can scan the QR code and read the complete study here. And then one question I just wanted to wrap up with, Kristen asked if this data is only from accounts on Metricool, and it is, yes. These are from business accounts on Instagram, so not personal accounts, but business accounts and creator accounts. All right. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And once again, if you want to try any of Metricool's premium plans, you can use code IG23 at checkout to try a premium plan 30 days for free. So exciting. Thank you all for joining this Instagram study presentation. We will be back in a few weeks to present our TikTok study. So make sure to stay tuned for all of the information about that. Yeah, thank you all for joining and have a great day.
Yes, don't forget to use the code. We'll see you in a few weeks.